how uranium could possibly hit $100 very soon. At the time, it is unclear whether there is sufficient spot uranium available to accommodate an influx of another $1 billion in purchases, and they are referring to Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. Some very bullish things are happening again. It is literally daily we are seeing new positive things for uranium and nuclear energy. Thank you guys. The very last video, we got over 1,100 likes. It is all because of you. Thank you very much. This is UXC. Now they released this to Sprott, so it is public. Now, Sprott is not the only one I think is going to be back into the market, the spot market for uranium this coming fall and winter. They are very, very conservative. UXC has been doing this for decades. They really are the, if you want to call them, I call them the UFC of the spot market. Now, there are multiple brokers for uranium. It's not just UXC, and they are really conservative, but for them to say something like this is a game changer. So I wanted to start this video off with that because it is very bullish. Now, there has been so much, pretty much daily with uranium, but you guys, I want to know, do you think uranium can hit $100 by this fall? Give me your like number below. Let's get this video past 1,100. That's the new target, 1,100. I know you can do it. This is going to be a long video, so I know you guys are going to enjoy this. There's a lot of great stuff that I'm going to cover in this, but one of the big things that I broke was that South Korea wins this $2.25 billion order to build 4 1,200 megawatt nuclear power plants. And this is going to be in Egypt. So this was something not a lot of people thought was going to happen. And it's one after another. We got another one, UK, to announce support for Sizewell C nuclear plant. We have a very large plant and it is in England. So this will be next week, Tuesday. It's aimed at helping the government and EDF seek private funding for this massive 3.2 gigawatt nuclear plant. In the Japanese nuclear reactor news that I broke, we are now seeing in Japan the top search results for stocks. The number 1 is nuclear power. The number 10th stock is nuclear power generation materials and parts. And number 13 is small nuclear reactors, SMRs. So I think there's really going to be a lot of funds. And this is not just, we're not just talking about US investors. We're talking about worldwide. People are seeing this. Now, this is another major thing going on with nuclear, and it's really showing how the world needs nuclear. So in France, the futures for power, they're 900 euros for this baseload power. And this broke a record. And in Germany, it's 792 euros. And obviously, we know in Germany, they're looking to restart nuclear power plants and extend them. So this is really showing the world. Now, 32 of the 56 nuclear power plants in France are down. 4 of those recently are going to be extended because of corrosion. Now, it's crazy because most of these are down from routine maintenance as the winter approaches. And I said that the United Kingdom is really at the mercy of this Russian reliance on uranium in enrichment. And France just so happened to the other day, yesterday, they imported tons and tons of uranium, enriched uranium from Russia. And obviously, as most of the world gets their physical uranium, they also get theirs from Kazakhstan. So this is really the energy crisis going on. It's highlighting nuclear, and I think people are starting to, as I just showed you, want to invest in nuclear because they see the renaissance, not only in Japan and possibly in Germany again, bringing back up nuclear, but just in the US, we're extending and restarting a lot of these plants as well. House bill, this is Fueling Our Nuclear Future Act. Now HR 8723, now it has the text. Now this text, it's very bullish for nuclear and uranium, obviously. HALEU, it'll be $200 million for HALEU each fiscal year, 2023 through 2027, $150 million for each fiscal year, 2023 through 2032. So this is pulling some actually funds from different sources. And this is what the bill calls for. And it's very similar to the Senate bill that Barrasso put out, Senator Barrasso. And this is just going to be great if something like this passes. What I really do like about this is the representative Lauria. She is Elaine. She is actually a nuclear engineer for the Navy. So really puts more credibility to this, that she's pushing this. And obviously it's bipartisan. We've got support going across the board on both sides, Senate and House, Democrat, Republican. I think this has a very good chance of getting passed. So Rolls-Royce SMR has signed an exclusive agreement with Dutch nuclear energy development company ULC Energy to collaborate on the development of Rolls-Royce small modular reactor power plants in the Netherlands. I mean, it's just coming everywhere. And these, I've done a lot of videos on Rolls-Royce SMRs last year for you guys. You know, as we talked about, this really is the future and it's starting to really take off. Now, an update with the Z plant there in Ukraine. You know, I've been keeping you guys updated. So the electricity was turned off there, but what happened was the plant near there, which is not a nuclear plant, there were power lines damaged. So it actually shut down the reactors, both of the reactors at the plant. They shut down and the radiation levels are normal. Now, by September 5th, you know, the IAEA, like I said, they want to visit. Russia's gave them the green light to do this and say they will be safe. And, you know, this is really, there's a lot of FUD still going around out there. Obviously, these are the 6 plants here, and this is where the fires were at. And, you know, they've got the dry storage over there, the radioisotopes, the storage, got them over here. Now, we've talked about in previous videos how strong these are. And even if there was a fire, these mortar rounds, smaller type mortar rounds, they really are highly unlikely to damage these areas as well. Now, you know, what we're seeing right now, I think, is a lot of, like I said, FUD. And I think that the IAEA, they're going to be able to really get a grip on the situation. Now, there is also Rosatom engineers there, is what Russia said. So Rosatom engineers are monitoring the situation as well. Going back to Japan, the IAEA, their representative, they are actually talking about the new small modular reactors that Japan wants to build. And this is really big because this is not only, because what he's saying is that's really the route they want to take. So this is going to, I think, spark the whole world. And if they see Japan going for this and Japan restarting their field program and restarting reactors they already have and extending them, and this could be a chain reaction around the world.
I would say that this is a very good and encouraging news, both in terms of energy supply security and climate change mitigation. Because Japan has been burning a lot of fossil fuels in order to fill the gap from the lack of nuclear power since the Fukushima the accident. And we're seeing the very tight the fossil fuel markets, in particular the natural gas markets is very tight, in particular in Europe. And this restart of the Japanese nuclear power plants would be good in terms of freeing up substantial amount of LNG to the global market, which needs more natural gas, the place like in Europe.
The obvious question is, can Japan deliver nuclear energy safely, given its tectonic situation? And we understand the challenges constantly that the country faces from earthquakes and tidal wave risk. Why should the world believe that Japan can now deliver safe energy through nuclear means?
Well, in the past 10 years, or more than 10 years since the Fukushima nuclear power accident, a lot has happened on the side of the nuclear safety in Japan. They have established a totally new nuclear safety authority, the regulatory agency, and also they totally renewed the nuclear safety standards to one of the most stringent one in the world. Because of the totally brand new systems to ensure the safety, I think that the world should believe that they can operate now the nuclear power plants in a safe manner. Of course, all the utilities, the relevant industries should do their best and work very hard to ensure that the nuclear power would be provided in a safe and solid manner.
What is the time scale we're looking at when it comes to construction of new nuclear plants in Japan and the scale of investment that would be required?
The new build would take a long time, in particular in the case of Japan. And I understand that the announcement by the Prime Minister Kishida yesterday was focusing more on the new types of nuclear power plants, including SMRs, small modular reactors. And they're still in basically a development stage. So we need to accelerate those developments But the most the more significant part is the restart of the existing nuclear power plants, which can be done because the 17 reactors have already received the green lights from the Nuclear Safety Authority. And also the extension of lifetime of the existing plants, that's also a crucial part of achieving the lower emissions with the existing the capacities.
And this really is like the 1970s, where we saw reactors coming up every couple weeks, in the whole world. And we're talking about multiple 60 reactors or so in the US during that time period in the 70s coming up and expanding. We got China, India, United Kingdom, France, Netherlands, Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Romania, shifting back, United States, Japan, Belgium, Finland, South Korea, and exploring for the first time. And this is big. I mean, we're seeing countries, Poland, Estonia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, Kazakhstan, Ghana. It's, the list goes on, and they need to add some more to this. As we saw, we're seeing Egypt going to be wanting to build 4. And what they talked about in the UXC article that they posted publicly was that it's very probable that when Sprott comes back into this market, if they go heavy and they get another billion in, that they don't know if there's that much uranium even left in the market. They're very conservative, as I said. And for them to say something like this, I think it really is going to signal not just because the people who read these publications, by the way, these are like $6,000 a year for this to get these publications out. And they provided this obviously for free. But, they're the real insiders of this. For them to say this, that it's unclear whether there's sufficient spot uranium available to accommodate the influx, those words to me says $200 uranium very quickly. Because if you don't know if there's a supply and there's massive demand coming in, prices go up. We know this. We've seen this in everything. Okay. This is no different. And this is actually more tight, the supply for this. So it's going to be a very crazy fall and winter. What they said in this, the fact that Sprott alone removed that 40 million pounds of uranium from the market, much of which was likely overhanging inventories, means that we are in a very different situation from when Sprott initiated. It's a very different situation. There are big players coming into the market that are not just Sprott. We're seeing overfeeding coming back into the market. We're seeing utilities. We're going to see, because especially with this refueling, we're seeing producers, the biggest producers, Cameco and Kazatomprom, are both coming into the market, the spot market. And long-term contracts, which is really the bread and butter, those are getting signed. Those are starting up, 700 million pounds. This is going to get crazy. Now, I do like this chart here that they put in here. You can see that anytime that Sprott was buying really heavily, and I've showed you guys this before, but you can see how much Sprott prices actually ran up and how fast they went up. And we're talking about multiple millions of pounds, certain days here back in September, October. It was getting really crazy, right? And then we saw this again back in March and April. This is really, like I said, when the refueling happens, both of these times. The spot price didn't just go up because of them. I think there were they were like 25%, I believe it said this year, 25% of the entire spot volume. So, I mean, that other 75%, there's a lot of other players in the volume in the market. And we're seeing, like I said earlier, more players that have not really been in the market come back. With overfeeding, it's going to get really crazy. So I really think it's very probable to get to that $75+ by the end of the year, maybe even triple digits if we get crazy volume coming in. Now, another thing, so Sprott has the uranium miners ETF, but you can see some of the biggest holdings are some of the ones that have done really good recently. And you're not just having this ETF come in, you're having we saw some big volume the last few days. We saw most uranium stocks up 15%, but look at what they have. They're holding Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, okay? They're holding a massive amount. They also hold Paladin, UEC, look at that, $46 million in UEC, Cameco. And what stocks hit 52-week highs recently? UEC, Cameco, and obviously Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. It's very likely that it's just this, cycle that keeps happening where they keep buying more shares and the price goes up, and then the Sprott price goes up. And then, I think this is going to be really nice, especially, this is still very early on, this ETF, But, there's more ETFs obviously buying uranium, but I think you're going to start to see some big, really big players coming in, and a lot bigger than we've seen really ever. And that volume is really going to test the uranium prices and the uranium market, not just in the spot market because we don't know how much is in there, but the uranium stocks themselves. Because a lot of these, we have not seen what some of these stocks will do with record volume. Now, some of them with crazy share structures, we've seen some pretty big volume, and they still move the stock. But I think if you're starting to get this in some stocks with, better share structure, you could see some brand new, not just 52-week highs, possibly a lot higher. Especially now, the next thing I want to show you guys, Cameco, Tim from Cameco, the CEO, they were on Bloomberg, and this was in Canada. And there's a lot of great information in this I want to share with you guys. And I want to get your guys' take. Guys, let me know below, after so far in this video, do you guys think that we're going to see $75 to $100 uranium by the end of this year? Give me your like number, and let's get this to 1,100.
Shares of Cameco jumped nearly 15% yesterday after news that Japan is planning to refocus on nuclear power. Our next guest believes that this is further proof that the world is showing a rapidly increasing interest in nuclear power, and that some of the Canadian uranium producers may be among those who will benefit. Tim Gitzel is president and CEO of Cameco, and he joins us now. Thanks so much for making time, Tim.
Jacqueline, my pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
So how significant was this news out of Japan for you when we heard Japan, is planning to restart some of its reactors and also looking to build more next generation nuclear technology?
Well, we've been watching Japan for a long time, and of course, that was the source of our misery for 10 years after the Fukushima accident back in 2011. And Japan will never come back. They'll never bring their reactors back. But we saw yesterday a dramatic shift back to nuclear by the Prime Minister, saying the country needs to get moving faster on its restarts, start building new ones, have life extensions, build new technology. So obviously a big move in a country that people thought wouldn't come back to nuclear. And it's only one of many. This is happening in India and China and the United States, even here in Canada. So we're really seeing a real resurgence of nuclear around the world.
How much of an impact did it have on Cameco when Japan shut down so many of its nuclear reactors after Fukushima?
Jacqueline, I think we all underestimated how the Japanese would react to the accident. They had 54 units running the day before Fukushima, very strong in nuclear. And they took the decision to shut them all down, have a look at them, put in some new safety features before they'd restart. And, today they have 10 reactors running. The Prime Minister has said he wants to have 17 by next summer, which is great news, but it's taken a lot longer. So that had a real devastating effect on the market. Obviously, 54 reactors consume a lot of uranium, and they didn't need it. And so that said, we've seen a resurgence, some real tailwinds over the last couple of years, and the market has come back strongly.
So how much do you think Cameco could benefit from Japan's refocus on nuclear and, just this optimism about this as a source of energy going forward, especially during these difficult times? Because, Japan's prime minister highlighting that they are doing this because Russia's invasion changed the global energy situation.
Japan is like many other countries around the world today, looking for energy security, and they're trying to find it wherever they can. People don't like carbon. They want to decarbonize. They want to electrify. And there aren't many options. They don't like coal in many countries, oil, maybe gas, and it's difficult to dam up a river. And so, but they want the lights to come on when you turn the switch on. And so people are having another look at nuclear, which has given us, as I said, some real tailwinds. And we're as busy as we've ever been. The fundamentals of the market are as strong as I've seen them probably in 40 years that I've been doing this.
Did you guys hear that? The strongest they've seen in 40 years. And remember, Cameco is very, very conservative. They have been very conservative as well. Guys, in the last 40 years, this really puts it in perspective. We were seeing it, 40 plus years ago, the United States was hitting almost 40 plus million pounds a year. And now it's zero. So if we're going back to that, there's a big major shift in the world, and we're seeing this renaissance. And I've been talking about this for years, on this channel, this nuclear energy renaissance, and it's finally coming.
And so we're really optimistic about the future.
In terms of this announcement in particular, will Cameco be doing anything to respond in terms of production or hiring?
Yes, in fact, we made a call back in February. We could see the market improving. We could see demand for our product. We said we're not going to produce just to put pounds into the spot market. We saw that what happens when you do that in the past. So we've been signing a lot of contracts. We've got a lot of new contracting in the pipeline. And so we are in the process of restarting our McArthur River Key Lake facilities, the largest high-grade mine in the world. And that will be up and running by the end of this year. We'll start production and ramp up over both the next 2 years.
That was something they were already planning to do before this news out of Japan, though, correct?
Yeah, it was. This just adds to the necessity to get that mine up and going. So it's really good news for us. In fact, we have a team over in Japan this week meeting with customers talking about their needs for the future. So it's good news.
Interesting. What does the new generation nuclear technology mean for uranium needs? These SMRs, I think, is the direction that people are interested in. Does that mean that it would be, they would need less uranium? How would that end up working for you?
Yeah, in fact, Jacqueline, it'll mean more uranium. And we're seeing a great move toward SMRs. Canada leading the way, OPG with their Darlington unit. They're building a GE Hitachi unit, 300 megawatts. That requires uranium. Uranium, hopefully, that comes from Saskatchewan. And so there's a lot of talk and a lot of SMRs on the books. I think there's some 300 being planned, even in North America. And so that's just more good news for our industry. And we, as the suppliers of nuclear fuel, need to be there to have our product ready when those reactors call for it. I
was more thinking of the plant itself or the reactor itself. If there was a shift to small modular reactors, does that require less uranium? I mean, I understand that if there's more reactors out there, then that would need more. But would that be would that require just sort of per reactor versus, or I guess it would be more based on the output of those reactors if you're doing the comparison. Maybe it's just too hard to compare that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Jacqueline. So the big ones, I mean, people are still going to keep building the large 1,000 megawatt units. In China, for instance, there's 54 of them, the big ones, under construction around the world today. That's our primary business, but these smaller ones just add to it. They just take proportionately less fuel, but if there's more of them, it should add to the demand side.
The more you're going to have, obviously, think of it like a smaller car. It doesn't use as much gasoline, but saying that there will be more cars on the road does not mean that this year there's going to be less demand for gasoline if the car is still using gasoline. So even though it's a 4-cylinder, obviously an 8, V8, V10, V12 uses a lot more fuel. V16, like a Bugatti, uses so much fuel. But, that's really what's going on. 40 years. They haven't seen this type of really, push in 40 years. So I think we're going to blow past the previous high in 2006, 2007 run. I think we're going to go to new highs like 1970 level. And adjusted for inflation, that's $218 or so. So I was reading through Urenco's half-year report, and some of the numbers that they're saying specifically with their contracting really stuck out to me. Now, we are signing new contracts to maintain our customer base and continue to raise our profile in new markets. We have security through the long-term visibility of our order book extending to 2030s. Our order book value as of the 30th of June is $11.3 billion. And this is big because in the last 4 years or so, this is more than any of those years. So everything's starting to pick up. We're probably going to start to see overfeeding happen in, the markets. We're going to start to see a very higher, SWU UF6 price. We're already seeing that go up. We're already seeing that go up a lot. And the last thing really is for uranium, physical uranium, to go up. And that's where I think we're really at. So this is just another signal. Now, if we're looking at uranium stocks, yesterday, a lot of uranium stocks did close green. The overall market, NASDAQ was up a bunch. Today, we got the Jackson Hole meeting, And I think the markets are a little worried. It's Friday. We could see a little bit of a pullback possibly. I would not be worried. Now, UEC was one of the ones that didn't close green. People were asking me what I think is going on. And I think because I did a poll and asked a bunch of people if they had shares from UEX transfer. So a lot of people did. I know a lot of people probably that were stuck in UEX probably sold, for whatever it was, a profit, because, a lot of people had held that stock, and a lot of them investors could have been in it for not just their uranium, but some of the other battery metal stuff. So I think a lot of investors exited, and very probable. And that's what we saw, a pretty good amount of volume. It wasn't like this major drop here though. We see a lot of selling volume that dropped it down to those recent lows. But, it still was a significant amount that it closed down 3%. But it was 15 million volume, so it was pretty high. So I do think that we're starting to see a few investors possibly exit. Maybe some investors were a little scared, with the market. Maybe they'll be back in UEC. Like I said, I think about half of the people that I've talked to, their brokers have already transferred it. So no telling what exactly happened. And it could just be that whole process, that transfer process that's got the stock. I've seen these type of stocks when they do that and the shares transfer over, it's kind of wobbly a little bit. But as you can see, it's still that same trend line. We're still looking pretty good. So it would be really, really bullish to see spot uranium break into $50 today. And by the way, it's like 4 a.m. pre-market. Stayed up all night for you guys doing these. Just doing so much research in the Discord, putting out a bunch of information for you guys. And I just really could not sleep. Really excited for this. Really excited for uranium. Now, I think that, like I said, a lot of the charts are still looking very similar. And this is going to be a big breakout move, I think, for everyone. UEC had that 3% pullback, but we didn't see it run as much as, say, Energy Fuels the other day. A lot of these are going to move together, especially next week. Now, next today, as we almost open the market here, and because Brent and crude are up, it is very possible we hit $50 today in uranium. And, Sprott, they need that premium. They're almost there. They're buying just little bits here and there, but I think this is really going to be it. And Numerico just reported it is still $49 on the ask for uranium. This is what the overall market looked like yesterday. So I really do hope that the overall market can stay green. It looks like the futures, it looks like right now they are still red. We got the Jackson Hole meeting today. If we can hear some positive things from old Jerome buddy, if he can be positive today, if he can maybe signal that they're not going to go too hard this fall, then maybe the markets will be green. I think it'll be really good going into the weekend for publicity for uranium. There's going to be a lot of coverage on it for the moves that Cameco did. I mean, 15% for a stock like that. It's just really unheard of a lot of times, in the market. But this year we've seen some crazy moves. But if you look at the uranium stocks, right, all the big uranium stocks, they are still up since Sprott. So we've got a week or so, and then this number will go down dramatically because we are in a new year for Sprott, right? And these stocks need to hit what they hit, the 52-week highs over here. They need to hit these, right, to get back to that. So these are the 52-week highs. So we need to get back to those 52-week highs very soon. I think it's very probable. Companies have this. The Sprott Miners ETF have them. So Cameco, UEC, Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. Look at this. These are the ones that are up this year still, even with the major pullback. So I think that as the price of uranium goes up, as Sprott raises more, not just for uranium, but for their miners ETF, they're going to be adding to these positions because they're doing very well. And by the way, if you guys want access to this sheet, there's so much data in here. My uranium sheet's updated daily, especially the uranium stock tier sheet. This will change sometimes daily. These are the rankings. You can have access to that. Link in the description below. Now, I put this poll out a few hours ago, not too long ago. It was like at 12 at night. And I just said that uranium, could Michael J. Burry invest in uranium stocks after his tweet? He's deleted this tweet, but it says Japan gets it. Nothing greener or cheaper than nuclear when government fast tracks it. Prime Minister Kishida set to order new nuclear power plant construction. So a lot of you seem to think, Well, not a lot of you because I did this too late, but you know, I usually get a little bit more. But from right now, it looks like most of you said yes to the moon. Possibly he might now. No, never. Not really any of you. Most of you guys are pretty positive. Now, we won't know for a while, obviously, if he bought anything, but he has been known to talk about specifically nuclear, and he's been pro-nuclear. He's a very smart guy, so you never know. Like, it's obviously been all over Bloomberg. It's been all over, you know, some big news outlets. And just like the Japanese were doing, they were looking at what stocks to invest for nuclear. But guys, as we go into the weekend, let's get this video to 1,100 likes. Thank you so much for the support on this channel. I got no sleep last night again for you guys, putting out this data, seeing if there's any breaking news, getting it out on the Discord first. If you guys want access to all this information and data that I posted here, you're going to get it first in the Discord, and you're going to be able to do it yourself as well if you want, because I give you access to everything in there. And also, let me know below, are we going to see $75 to $100 uranium soon? I don't care if you're a bear or bull. Comment below, give me your like number, and let's ride the next massive wave into $100 uranium. I think it's very possible to come very soon.